Alex had always been a very caring, loving and giving person, and this would be the ultimate gift he could bestow on anyone, the gift of life. My name's Jill Hall and I have 3 children. I've got Ashley, who is 28, Alex, who's 26 now, and Catherine, who's 16 and a bit. Alex, he was born on Saturday the 16th of April 1988 at 17 minutes past 3. He was born 8 pounds on the nose. He's just a lovely baby, very easygoing, very laid back. Could just leave him laying in his cot until he remembered he was there. Growing up, he was quite quiet, and he'd just sit and play with like one car or one toy for hours on end. Never cried really. He was just a good little boy. Yeah, he was very football mad, very football focused. Started playing in an under-8s team.
He didn't have a bad bone in his body. He was just a genuine guy, and he was really lovely, and everyone just used to get on with him really well. He was really friendly. I never used to talk to anyone. He used to be laughing all the time.
He was a monkey. Mum's probably told you loads of good stories, but you know, he was a lad. He was a lad, loved his football, loved his mates, loved hanging out with his family, his friends, just top guy.
It's like you say, there's no bad word to say about him, you know. Some people you get, I mean, you have really good mates and there's something that you'll say, yeah, he's a great bloke, but there's no but with Alex. For me, he was just what, it says it on the tin, you know what I mean?
He used to get frustrated because not everybody put the same effort as he did on, you know, and that's at every level he played, even when he got into men's football, you know. More experienced, older guys, he would tell them what's what if they're not putting it in, you know, that's the sort of person he was.
My mum was looking after him one day, and he was sat really with his nose to the TV and realised that his sight wasn't so great. And he gave up football after that, once he had to wear glasses, until he was about 11. And then I took him, got him contact lenses, and his whole life just opened up again. And he became that sort of cheeky Alex again, who and just went back to his football and loved it, and then followed through from Preston Gorcott and carried on playing until the day we lost him. He was happy and had his whole life ahead of him, making plans for a future he would share with his fiancée Jess. It was her 21st birthday in 2011 on the 3rd of April, and she desperately wanted to come up to Manchester with a group of friends. But it was just to celebrate her birthday. She was 21 the next day, and they just wanted to do something really different. They just went out, and he didn't come back. Tragically, Alex had an accident and fell 40 feet to his death in the nightclub at around 10:15 p.m. I was out that night, and like you do in a restaurant, you put your phone onto silent so you don't disturb other people. And it was probably a couple of hours before I actually realised I've got lots and lots of missed calls.
But I had to break the news to Mum, and that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Was ring my mum and tell her that Alex had an accident and we needed to get up there as soon as we possibly could.
At that point, you know, we didn't know what was the matter, whether he'd just broken a leg or how serious it was. So my decision was to just immediately get in the car and come up to Manchester. Arrived at Salford at 2 o'clock, and to be actually greeted by the receptionist, who had a security guard or a porter waiting with her, who knew instantly who I was and took me straight up to ICU. We were told he was going to be having an operation. At that point I didn't know what the operation was, again thinking it was to repair his leg or something. And then I had to wait for my daughter and her father to arrive before we were told anything, so that was another half an hour or so, and that's when we were told the news that he'd suffered a severe head injury. This is where my story begins, and this story is to other families who are facing the same outcome as we had to. Justin and Chris, the consultant and registrar, who came on shift in the morning, came in to see myself, Alex's dad and his sister, and explained to us the severity of head injuries, and at that point they wanted to do brainstem testing. And that's the point then when I kind of gripped my chair. And I think all through the night I knew in my own mind that it wasn't good. We weren't going to get the outcome we wanted and what we'd like. Because at one point during that night a nurse had come to tell me that he'd gone from having one pupil reaction to no pupil reaction. And although I knew exactly what that meant, I didn't want to know. And at that point, again, I thought they'll have this brainstem testing and he'll be fine. So they came in, told us they needed to do brainstem testing, explained the procedure. I asked them exactly what would happen and how they know, how can they assure me that at the end of their testing what they were saying, that if he had passed away, was correct, so that I could be really assured that he had gone. But there was a blood tear that just came from his right eye, and it just sat there on his cheek. And I didn't say anything to Ashley, and she said nothing to me, but we both believe, whether rightly or wrongly, that that was the moment that he went, and that was his tear goodbye, and it was just me and her there. That was really quite, you know, it's a really poignant moment for us. I looked over to Ashley and her dad and just said, if it doesn't come back the way we want it to, I want him to be an organ donor. And they both said yes. Then obviously Chris and Justin came back in and gave us the results. Ashley broke down and had to leave the room. Her dad, he just sat there stunned, shocked. And I just remember thinking, from now on, everything has to be for Alex. Everything has to be right for him, so that he's cared for, and my last memories of him are going to be really positive ones. For all the sadness we are going through, a miracle was just about to happen. And at that point, we didn't even know that he was on the register.
None of us knew he was an organ donor, and when I was with my mum when they told him, and she was just like, oh, I didn't know that.
And we were just in total disbelief.
It just makes perfect sense that he would want to do something selfless.
She explained the process to us, or what we would have to do, the forms we'd have to complete, and then how she would go about finding the recipients. And then she explained the process around having to go out and offer out his organs, which I think we all found a really nice term, and reminded me of eBay a little bit. But having those little sort of terminology that's just plain English was really important, because we understood what she meant. Rachel explained to us the benefits of to people that, you know, that transplant would have to them, which actually helped us through the whole process. And then eventually Rachel came back to us and said, right, you know, we've got somebody for his right lung, his liver, his kidney, and his heart. And we were told that he'd probably be going down to surgery about midnight, 12 midnight. I was able to lay with him. They sort of moved him across in his bed, made a space for me so I could lay with him. And I had a little sleep next to him, which was really lovely. And Jess did the same. And then sort of as the evening progressed, we did handprints. So Rachel came in with all these lovely pots of paint, and Catherine painted his hands, and we made sure we had handprints for everybody, which was really nice, because one of them we tried really hard to get his fingerprints, and one of them we actually managed to get a really clear fingerprint on, which was great. And then Rachel did cut locks of hair with Catherine, and Alex was renowned for cutting and restyling Catherine's Barbie dolls. So she stood there snipping bits of hair off, saying sort of revenge for the Barbie dolls, which was nice, because it meant that there was a little bit of humour in there, which helped her cope with her losing a brother. So then I was left alone. I sort of asked to be left alone with him for the last few hours, and I massaged his feet, and just generally just spent the last hours of with my son. So sort of time progressed, and Rachel kept coming back. She changed out of her ordinary clothes into her clothes for going to theatre. I was concerned because I didn't want Alex left on his own, and I said to Rachel, you will be with him the whole way, won't you? You will hold his hand and you will look after him, and she assured me that she would. And then the next thing, she said, right, we're ready to go. And the team came round, they prepared him for moving him to theatre. And that's when things really began to be real for me. As lovely and as quiet, as dignified as they were, and they were cared for him. Every time they moved him, they did something, they talked to him. And that had happened all during the day, you know. We just need to wash you, we just need to do this, we're just changing this, Alex. And they talked to him, and that was lovely. And again, preparing him, they told me and told him what was happening. And then I walked down to theatre, followed his bed down to theatre. I found that really, really hard. And I was able to say goodbye to him, and they'd have let me spend as long as... I was able to spend as long as I needed saying my goodbyes, and the last thing I said to him, Alex, you're going in there and you're doing something really, really special. You're about to give a number of people a really special gift that not many people are able to give. You're giving some people a gift of life, and I'm so proud of you. And I said goodbye to him. I gave Alex his first wash in life and was able to give him his last wash. Well, we went back to the hotel just hoping that everything was going as it should go. The retrieval team needed to make sure that everything was right for the people that were about to receive his organs and have this life-changing surgery. I had my alarm set for sort of 7 o'clock and I woke well before then, and I just didn't want anything. I was waiting for Rachel's call, and that was the only call I wanted. When it came, we just all jumped in the cars and were back at the hospital. And I just remember the curtains, walking through the curtains, and there he was, laid there. And he just looked like he was asleep. And when Mary brought the stuff in, she said, oh, I've cleaned his teeth as well. And I just broke into this big smile and giggled, thinking, oh my God, that is just the ultimate care, that they've cleaned his teeth. And I hold that and I tell everybody, and it's something that helped me through that morning. Alex had always been a very caring, loving and giving person, and this would be the ultimate gift he could bestow on anyone, the gift of life.
I was actually on holiday at the time. I couldn't find anything. All I was just going by was just these different news feeds and people putting RIP Alex Lawes. And then the day I got back, I went to go and get a newspaper, and it was front page, and that's when it really, really hit home.
Once everybody got to know about what had happened to Alex, and then when we got to know that he was going to be an organ donor, and that got out on Facebook, people were amazed, and we started getting all these messages about, oh, I've signed up to the register, and that was really warming, because you think, my God, you know, he's made such a difference. Yet all these people that he knows, his friends who are young, you know, they're sort of 18, 19, 20, however old, were all there following in his footsteps and getting online and signing the donor register. And that's his legacy. I actually thought I was having a heart attack, and I went to my doctor and I said, I think I've got heart problems, and he said, no, you're not, you've got a broken heart, and that's grief. But on the upside, I wake up every single morning and one of the first thoughts I have are for Alex's recipients, and to hear them say, thank you for allowing your son to be a donor and giving others like us a chance. And I always say, don't be silly, you know, I thank you as recipients for now living your life to the full, remembering your donor and your donor family. The way they can say thank you is by living every single day and living it and doing the things they want to do, not putting things off, just getting on and doing it. Because that's what I've done. And that's what I've done for my son.